So this is assignment 9C.
Yeah, I got it.
Aztec primary documents. Here's the question. This is the European Hernán Cortés, who arrived at the city of Tenochtitlan and was engulfed in drama between the native Aztecs and his Spanish men. Okay? The question that we need to answer in our next paragraph is this: should history remember Hernán Cortés as a hero or a villain? How should this dude's story be written in the textbooks, in the history textbooks? Should he be remembered as a hero or a villain? That's what we need to figure out. So when you look at the primary stories of people who were there, you're going to highlight any evidence. Oh, hero. Oh, he looks like a hero in this story. They're telling the story and implying, persuading me to believe he's a hero. Ooh, highlight all that. Oh, in this story, he looks like a total villain. So that's what you're going to look for in the stories. We're going to watch the short video to introduce us to the interactions between Spanish Hernán Cortés, the Aztecs, particularly the Aztec king Montezuma. And we're going to watch the drama unfold. And then we're going to analyze primary documents of stories of people who were there using our graphic analysis grid in order to figure out what points closest to the truth. Was Hernán Cortés a villain or a hero? All right. So you should have a split screen. I got Hernán Cortés staring at you right now. He's side-eyeing you. Open up your screen and have a second Hernán Cortés. So I got my Hernán Cortés on the left side of your screen. You have your Hernán Cortés on the right side. Hero or villain? There's only 3 documents in this primary analysis, and I'm going to do document 1 with you. I'm going to model it, show you how to do it. You do the other 2 documents yourself. So right now you should have this pulled up. Should history remember Hernán Cortés as a hero or a villain? The video gave you some evidence-based insight already. Some of you believe hero, others believe villain. And now we're going to go into some primary documents, stories of people who were there. Scroll with me as I scroll. Here's some student background information. Was Hernán Cortés a hero or a villain? Read with me as I read aloud. By the 1400s, the Aztec city of Tenochtitlan was one of the largest, wealthiest, and most beautiful cities in the entire world. No one outside of the Americas had ever seen it until 1519, when the Spanish explorer Hernán Cortés arrived with only 600 men, 16 horses, and a few cannons. The city had almost 300,000 Aztecs. He met a young native woman named Malinche, who would serve as his translator and advisor. Malinche knew the Aztec language and quickly learned to speak Spanish. The leader of the Aztecs, Montezuma, was not sure what to think when his messengers brought word that the Spanish were on their way. Was their leader, Hernán Cortés, a friend? Was he invading enemy? Or was he the legendary god king Quetzalcoatl, returning to Earth to rule the world once again? As you read the following documents that describe the meeting of the Aztec and Spanish, keep in mind this question: was Hernán Cortés a hero or a villain? Let's look at a short timeline. In 1345, that was the foundation of Tenochtitlan, the beginning of the city. 1376, the Aztecs choose their king, their first king, through alliances with other native groups. The Aztecs begin conquering other indigenous groups in central Mexico. And those other Native American groups that were not Aztec, they did not like the Aztecs. Why? Because as you remember in your investigation, the Aztecs used those people for sacrifice. Okay? So in 1440, the Aztecs began to turn on their allies and sacrifice them. 1469, the marriage of King Ferdinand of Aragon and Queen Isabella of Castile, Spain, results in the formation of the modern country of Spain. Christopher Columbus in 1492 lands in the Americas. By 1502, Montezuma is the Aztec king. And by 1519, here comes Hernán Cortés. He sails from Cuba to Mexico. And in 1521, the city of Tenochtitlan falls. Wow, in 2 years, Hernan Cortez with 600 men takes down a city of 300,000 Aztecs? How? 1521, the Aztecs surrender to the Spanish. Let's take a look from a story of people who were there. Remember what we're looking for. As I highlight, your screen should say document A on the right side, as mine is document A on the left side. As we read, we're looking for this: hero or villain. So what I'm going to do here, and you should do it with me, right above, I'm going to make a key. Hero equals yellow. Let's do yellow highlight. Villain equals, let's do green. So now you make that as well. Right? That's what you should have. Hero is yellow, a villain is green. Here we go. Follow along with me. There are only a few Aztec accounts of the Spanish arrival of Tenochtitlan in 1519. This is an Aztec account. I'm underlining it, underline it. The following describes the first meeting between Aztec leader Montezuma and the Spanish leader Hernan Cortez. This is an Aztec point of view of the first meeting between King Montezuma of the Aztecs and Hernan Cortez of the Spanish. When the Spaniards were installed in the palace, when they brought the Spaniard soldiers there, they asked Montezuma about the city's resources and reserves. What do you have in the city that's valuable? And about the warriors, signals and shields. They're asking about the Aztec warriors' equipment, the military equipment. They questioned him closely and then demanded gold. Montezuma guided them to it. So the Spanish demanded gold. Do you think that's evidence that the Spaniards were heroes or villains? Click the raise hand to make them go away. I'm looking at your screens now. So Jada, Mario, Gilbert, click them to make them go away. Mario, click the hand. Gilbert, click the hand. All right. So the Spanish arrived and they demanded gold. Do you think that's evidence that they should be remembered as heroes or villains? If you think heroes, raise your hand. Click raise your hand. Okay. If you think villains, click raise your hand. Okay, majority says villains. So let's go with green. Everybody highlighting green, villains. There's some evidence right there. They questioned closely and they demanded gold. Uh-oh. Remember, whose point of view is this? An Aztec point of view, right? Let's keep reading. When they arrived at the treasure house called Teocalco, the riches of gold and feathers were brought to them, the Spanish. Ornaments made of quetzal feathers, richly worked shields, discs of gold, the necklaces of the idol, gold nose plugs, gold greaves, bracelets, and crowns. A lot of gold. The Spaniards, according to the Aztec account, the Spaniards immediately stripped the feathers away from the gold shields and ensigns. They gathered all the gold into a great mound, a pile, and they set fire to everything else, so it burnt off the gold, right? Clothes and feathers. Regardless of its value, then they melted down the gold into little ingots like bricks. They made gold bricks. All right. The Spaniards took all the gold jewelry and all the gold shields and all the gold furniture and anything made of gold that was decorated with feathers and clothes. They burnt all the feathers and clothes off of it, and then they melted all the gold into gold bricks. That evidence right there. Do you think that's evidence of hero? Click raise your hand if you think there should be evidence of hero. Click raise your hand if you think it should be evidence of villain. What's going on, people? I thought you guys thought he was a hero. Let's see. All right. You have spoken. Let's highlight it in green. Uh-oh, more evidence of being a villain. Remember whose point of view this is. This is an Aztec speaking who is there. Next, they went to Montezuma's storehouse. This is King Montezuma of the Aztecs, his personal gold storage. When they entered the Hall of Treasures, it was as if they had arrived in paradise. They searched everywhere and coveted everything. They were slaves to their own greed. Uh-oh. The Spanish were slaves to their own greed. The Spanish were greedy. Is that evidence of being a hero? Would a hero usually be greedy? Or is that evidence of someone that's a villain? Well, you'd say a villain is more associative with greed. So there's not even a vote there. All of Montezuma's possessions were brought out. Everything the king owned. Everything that belonged to the king and was reserved only for him. The Spanish and Cortez, they took all the treasures as if they were their own, as if this plunder were merely a stroke of good luck. Oh, look what we found. And when they had taken all the gold, they heaped up everything else in the middle of the patio. They basically took everything of the king's possessions. Is that evidence of a hero or a villain? Yeah, I agree. All right, so what was this source? Published in 1992. It was called The Broken Spears, written by an unknown Aztec chronicler and translated by Malinche in 1519. So this was an Aztec, maybe it was a guard, or maybe it was a servant of the king, but we know this Aztec was in the room with the Spanish and saw what the Spanish did. Okay, that's document A. So now let's go to the grid. Speaker, who's the creator right here? An unknown Aztec chronicler. So let's copy that, come down over here, boom, paste. The occasion, the time, the setting, and the place. So this is in the city of Tenochtitlan in 1519. Copy it, come right down here, paste. See how fast you can do it? And I would say also in the king's private treasure room. See that? Who was this account made for? Who was supposed to read this? Why was this written down? Right? For what audience? Well, Aztecs couldn't read in English here. This was Malinche. She translated this, right? So who is supposed to look at this? Who's supposed to read this? This was actually for Spanish people in Spain to one day read, to know what really happened. Okay? Make sure you're copying down what I have right here. The purpose. Is this to inform? Is this to entertain? Is this to persuade? To inform the reader. To inform the reader from the Aztec point of view, so you know. What happened? And the Aztec king private treasure room. Make sure you're copying down exactly what I have here. I'm going to check at the end of the period. What is the message? What is the meaning being discussed here? Hernan Cortez and the Spanish, what did they do to the treasures of the king of the Aztecs? Did they borrow the gold? Did they find the gold? Did they steal the gold and take the gold? They robbed and plundered that gold. They stole that gold from the king of the Aztecs. Now, right here, it says hero or villain. Now, we said in yellow, right, up at the top. Oh, sorry, green is villain. Villain, right? And this is what you would do for the other two documents. So I say villain. Okay. Now, what is the quotes that prove Cortez is a villain? I'm going to give you 2 minutes to make sure you have all this down first. We need some quotes. Any quotes that prove he's a villain. So I'm going to come back up and use these quotes. So I'll take this, copy, come down here, paste that, and I go back up here, copy this, come down here, paste that. Then I come back up here, copy this, paste that. You don't have to use all this in your paragraph, but you want this as all the evidence that proves, my goodness, what they said, what they did reflects the actions of not a hero, but a villain. All right? And I'm done with document A. So I'm going to leave this here, and I want you to move on, once you're finished with this, to document B, which may be a very different point of view and a totally different story. Might conflict with this one. Take the rest of the period, try to complete document B. Go.